And write these down. Let's do this. 6.832594. I don't know how many they give us. I guess they go to the millions place. It is always good to know the place value for these decimals. But you have to keep in mind, decimals you have to think a little bit backwards. Okay? Because as you get farther away from the decimal, what it stands for is smaller and smaller. Alright, for example, which is opposite of what happens when you get to the decimal on the whole number side. 6 is not a very big number, but a 7 over here means you have 70 and then blah blah blah. This 8 stands for the tenths, or is in the tenths place. And make sure you get that TH on there. And let me reiterate, what does a tenth mean? Well, if I start with a whole piece of paper and I cut it into tenths, gosh, what does that give us? I would say it would be something like, all right, this probably is 1/10, or close to 1/10 of what I started with. That's probably a little bit bigger than that, but the 6 to 1 happens like this. So this is about 1/10. The next place value over is the hundredths place. Hundredths. Which means I would have to take my 1/10 of what I started with and cut it into 10 equal pieces, which maybe is about like this. Here I am. This is about 1/100th of what I started with. And then as I go farther yet, this is the thousandths, with the TH, thousandths place, which means if I took my hundredth and I cut it into 10 equal pieces, I don't know, let's say this is it right here. You know, that's 1,000th of this thing. And as I keep doing that, the farther and farther away I get, the smaller and smaller my pieces get. This would be the 10,000ths. I don't think I'm going to go any farther than that with my paper. And then after the 10,000ths would be the 100,000ths. And then millions. And then the 10 millions. And it would still go on for whatever. Yeah, whatever. The 10 millions. Just make sure all of those have that little TH letter after them. Now technically, believe this or not, and this is something kind of strange and ironic, just like, you know, when you have a big number over here, let's say 7, 9, 3, 4, you're supposed to put commas in it so that you can read it. That's 43,976, right? You with me on that? The same thing is true with decimals. Okay? You should, after every 3, put a decimal, because that also helps you in reading that decimal. Alright? How do I read the decimal part of this? Well, let me give you the whole number part first. 43,976, that's pretty easy, we already know that. The decimal point, we always say the letter or the word and. When you read the rest of that number, you read it like it's a whole number. If I were reading that number, it would be 8,325,942. The only difference is when it's a decimal, you have to say what place value that last digit is in. So, starting from the beginning again, it goes like this: 43,976 and 8,325,942, 10 millions. 43,976 and 8,325,942, 10 millions. Alright, kind of got that? Ain't that exciting? Usually we don't write that big in decimal numbers, but sometimes we do. If you were saying this number, 3.53, how would you say that? That is 3 and 53. This is the tenths, this is the hundreds, so 3 and 53 hundredths. Just remember, it's an exact reflection of the whole numbers, except there is no such thing as a there's no such thing as a ones place here, like there's a ones here. It automatically starts with tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 7,000, millions, 10 millions. But it's gonna be pretty simple for you. They're just gonna ask you what digit is in what place. For example, let's say I've got 75.3986, and I asked you what digit's in the tens place. In the tens place is what, Sam?
Tens.
Tens.
7.
Yeah. 7 is in the tens place. If I asked you what is in the, if I asked you what's in the thousandths place, in the thousandths place, Kate, is which digit? Yeah. Because that is the tenths, hundredths, thousandths place. Again, 8 thousandths of something is pretty small. I guess we got to make this little point too. The book likes to help you think about money in decimal form because that's what we use mostly, decimals, and you're pretty good with that. Take a look, see at this. Let's say you've got $6.85. Okay, this is still the tenths place, which is why we call it dimes, right? A dime is a tenth of a dollar. Just jot this down here. This 5 is in the hundredths place. What do we call the hundredths place? A cent, right? It's 1 cent because that's century. Cent means a thousandth of. And then, believe it or not, the book's going to ask you this. We don't use this ever, but there is one more place over here. Let's say it's a 2. We don't have a coin that stands for this place. Well, half cent would be a 5 there. All right. And you do go by gas stations, and they do have that last digit up there. If you look at every gas station, every gas station has the price of gas, and then they have like a 9/10. All right. That's because they actually go to this next place, and there's actually a 9 here. I don't know why they've done it. Probably since the beginning of time. That's a tenth of a cent. Whatever this number here, if it was a 1, it's 1/10 of a cent, 2/10 of a cent, 3/10. This is 9/10 of a cent, which means it's really close to $6.86. But this has a name. It is a mill, which means a mill is 1/1000th of a dollar. Right, 1/1000th of a dollar is a mill. For some reason they'll ask you that. I just thought I'd give it to you. You don't really find it except in Michigan. I do remember this. When they talk about taxes, they actually talk about mills. They want a 5 mil tax, which means it would be 5 mils mean you'd pay 1,000th of a dollar on whatever it is. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're making, $100,000, 1,000th of a dollar, you multiply that by 100,000 or whatever, maybe it's $100 or whatever it is. So you do make some money, it's just a little small. Perfect. Well done.